Hey everyone, Charlie here, and welcome to an episode of Learn to Play Piano with Charlie. This is a Masterclass episode where basically I give a little bit more in-depth than a 60-second kind of overview lesson with some key points on a piece. And today we're going to look at Bach's Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring. This is the version that's arranged by Myra Hess, and it's one of my favorite pieces to play lately. It's a gorgeous piece, all that good stuff. Bach, it's one of the most recognizable classical music or any music pieces out there. But it's particularly good in this version. Originally, it wasn't even for piano because, again, pianos weren't invented back then. But Myra Hess did this spectacular arrangement, and it's short. It's only like 4 pages long. Is that right? 4 pages? Is that it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's only 4 pages long. So that's pretty good. I'm going to move my mic up here a little bit. But anyway, so I thought it would be good to kind of play it a little, like bits and pieces of it. If you want to hear the whole thing through, there's lots of videos on my channel. So just look that up and you can hear me play it in a variety of different places. But yeah, there's a lot of ways you can play, not just this piece by Bach, but basically any piece by Bach. Because, for those of you who are, who play piano a little bit or have a little background on it, Bach didn't, it was composed for like harpsichord and stuff, right? So it wasn't even a piano that you can have different dynamics for. So, most of the time there's in Bach pieces, there's no dynamic markings or anything like that. This one does because it was arranged by Myra Hess. You can take those, but there's still a lot of flexibility in how you can play it. So basically it's arranged, it has the main melody. The tricky part of this piece is all the inside melodies, because there's a lot of times where there's like a melody that you're playing in your like thumbs, basically. And that's kind of the tricky part. So he starts off, or he and she, arranged by Myra and composed by Bach. The piece starts off, with kind of the normal bit. Then it goes into a cantando il tenore section, which basically is the... And the first time it does that, the melody is in the middle. So it's basically in between your thumbs. And then it goes back to... And then it has another cantando il soprano, where the soprano is being sung out. So it's the same thing as before, basically, but now it's in the top. And then it goes back to... Then it has kind of a middle section where it changes key, and then it kind of comes back and has a little ending, and then ends with... So it's a pretty simple, like structurally laid out piece, but I think one of the most important parts of this piece is bringing out the correct melodies and being sure you can hear that out and it sings, which is particularly difficult when it's in the middle. But also, aside from that, is that kind of very kind of pensive, pensive quality, that kind of very restrained, very almost. It's like being in mass, right? In like maybe an old European church. Very, very kind of introverted, very, very contemplative. Maybe that's a good word to use. So let's play the beginning part. It kind of, I like to start it right, like where it's coming out of nothing, not just... And the other thing to consider is the tempo, and that is a big range of... Some people go... I'm not a fan of that. I like it super slow, but again, it's not like you have to do it this way kind of a thing, because there's not even a tempo marking. Okay, so anyway, I like it kind of coming out of nothing. It's almost like it's been playing in the background on loop for a while, and now you're just cranking up the volume ever so slightly so that it just becomes audible. So in that part, what I would say is super long phrasing. You don't want it to be like... It's not a, you're not on a square tire bicycle. You want long lines, basically lasting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all 8 measures. Just super long line. She wrote, Myra wrote like phrasing in, like every 2 bars. You can think of it like that, but it's like as soon as one ends, it starts again. So it's like an 8-bar phrase, basically. Super long lines. The other thing I like to do is like when it comes in when it repeats, I like maybe bringing out a little bit of the top of my left hand to give it a little bit of variety, because it is a kind of a repetitive piece. And so if you can, anything you can do to like make it different the second time is good. Because a general rule of thumb in music, in classical music at least, is you don't want to play the same thing exactly the same way twice. General rule of thumb: change something, bring it out. Bring something out more, bring something out less, different dynamic, different articulation, something. So I kind of like that. But yeah, super long lines. Super legato right hand, especially the very top notes. And I would suggest flutter pedal. So basically, I think I have a video on that, so check that out if you want more details. But basically, on every beat, lift the pedal, but don't lift it all the way off. You don't want it to hiccup. You just want slightly off. You're fluttering on the sustain pedal. Okay, so then when we get to the first cantando il tenore, this is like bar 9. When you have that, you want that kind of shaped middle line. Now it's super hard to do. I think there's also videos on balancing on my channel. Check that out. But give your thumb more weight. Imagine you're playing down into the key so much that imagine the key goes all the way to the floor, but it just happens to stop a little bit, just like a centimeter down, right? So you want that weight. Use your arm weight, your hand weight, everything. And you can also kind of like tip your hand to the right a little bit to kind of like, to give it that more pressure on the right side. And then when this part comes, just come out of nothing and then fade away. Now the tricky part there is you're going to switch over to your right thumb, so make sure not to make that stick out at all. Okay, very good. And then you're just back to the same section. Now, when we get to the cantando il soprano section, this is about measure 24-ish. You're gonna bring out your right hand top. So you want, kind of do the same thing we did before with the left hand, but this one is a little easier just because it's on the top and it's more natural to play that way. Super finger legato, all of the melodic line. You don't want it hiccupy, so basically overlap the right hand notes a little bit and really pull on the keys to shape it. This part's a little bit trickier because you're playing the notes within, right? You're still bringing out da dee 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 dee, but you're also playing where am I at here? Let's see. Excuse my wrong notes there, but you get the point. So that's the difficult part, because you don't want to bring out, that's background. That's like, bring the volume down, but you want, so, I might suggest is on the notes that you're bringing out, give that more weight. You don't want it to be, harsh. Now generally, especially when you're playing the middle voices, it's hard to be too harsh. You don't want it to be sharp, but as long as you're playing deep and with a lot of weight, it should be pretty good. All right, let's move on to the third page now. Now this is the part where it's going to like change key and go into the middle section. So we are at measure like 39-ish, right? So melodic line in the middle again. Now you can intense, like very emotional part of the piece. The difficult part here is, again, that middle line. Particularly because it goes back and forth between the left hand and the right hand thumb. So be careful about making sure that it doesn't come off harsh. Again, super weighted, and keep everything down as like quiet as possible. Even though the section says like poco forte and you can bring it out and the whole thing can be louder, it's pretty hard to overplay the melodic line, the middle notes in this case, and it's pretty easy to overplay the rest of it. So bring the rest of it down as much as you realistically can, and then bring that middle note out more, and then you can bring everything up as you get more used to it. That's right. This is 40. And then then we're back to basically nothing, right? This is just the background accompaniment. Same here. I add a few extra octaves because why not? And then you're kind of coming back down again. And it keeps going. 52. Middle voice again. Be careful, that's a little different here, right? It's kind of a little bit of a variation. Now we're at 57, 58. This is the first time here at 60 where it's really kind of different. I like bringing out the tops to really emphasize the harmonic changes. And then here, the very last time, it's fading away. The volume is going down. It's going off into the distance. I think it's also okay to take more time here. Maybe a slight retardando. Place the end. It's a very simple sounding piece that's very not simple. But I think the biggest thing is to keep that very pensive quality throughout and really make sure that you bring out those special voices. Sometimes it's in the middle, sometimes it's at the top, and make sure that the rest of it is very quiet in comparison. Make sure that they do not sound sharp or come off harshly. Play deep into the notes. And the entire piece should have that shape where it's growing, has that climactic part, and then falls off into nothing. It's a gorgeous piece, and it's a great one to perform. So hope this is helpful. Be sure you're subscribed and all that good stuff, and I'll see you in another video or at a concert.